Mr. President, this is a timely meeting to discuss the implementation of Resolution 2730, which calls for the respect for the protection of humanitarian and the United Nations personnel. In Gaza, just a few days ago, 15 emergency and aid workers from the Red Crescent, from Palestinian Civil Defense, and from the United Nations were found buried in a mass grave. They had been buried near destroyed ambulances and near clear marked vehicles. These individuals were killed, yes, assassinated, by Israeli occupying forces while attempting to save lives. They deserve justice. As ASG Msuya stated, we should speak out. We need the voice of the Security Council and the broader UN membership to be loud and clear. Almost a year after the adoption of Resolution 2730, it is unfortunate to note that despite its ambitions, this resolution, this decision of the Security Council has had very little impact on the ground. 2024 was the deadliest year on record for humanitarian personnel, with 377 aid workers killed, nearly 100 more fatalities than in 2023, and more than 3 times than in 2022. Of these humanitarian personnel killed in 2024, 207 were in the occupied Palestinian territory. And this tragic reality compels us to question the relevance of Resolution 2730, the relevance of international humanitarian law, and even the relevance of the Security Council itself. To address this situation, I would like to emphasize the following points. First, the necessity of independent investigation and accountability. Throughout investigation and accountability, thorough investigation and accountability are fundamental elements of Resolution 2730. But since October 7, 2023, over 400 aid workers have been killed in Gaza, including 8 foreigners. And we demand justice for all of them. It is unacceptable that the killing of UNOPS staffer is investigated by the United Nations, while hundreds of innocent Palestinian lives are not afforded the same attention, the same justice. Second, guaranteeing effective protection. Resolution 2730 affirms that attacks directed at humanitarian personnel, the United Nations, and their premises and assets are considered war crimes under international law. However, these principles, these basic principles, does not seem to apply to the Israeli occupying power. All peoples, all infrastructure appears to be deemed legitimate targets, whether it's UN facilities, such as UNRWA buildings, or UNOPS accommodations, or humanitarian deconflicted facilities like those of the ICRC and Médecins Sans Frontières. No one and nowhere is safe in Gaza. This behavior of the Israeli occupying power cannot continue. Humanitarian personnel and their assets must receive the effective protection to which they are entitled. Third, Mr. President, ensuring respect for international humanitarian law. Resolution 2730, and I quote, calls upon all states and parties to armed conflict to respect and ensure respect for applicable international humanitarian law in all circumstances. From the very beginning of the negotiation process of this resolution, Algeria was clear: without a robust mechanism to ensure respect for international humanitarian law and end impunity, all efforts will be in vain. Continued violation of international humanitarian law, as we witness in Gaza today, represent our collective failure. The international community is not fulfilling its obligations. In fact, the behavior of parties to conflicts is no longer shaped by Security Council resolution, is no longer shaped by international humanitarian law. Instead, it is driven by impunity from which the Israeli occupying power has benefited. What we are witnessing today in Gaza set a dangerous precedent for current and future conflicts, where no rules are respected. Mr. President, adopted amid the ongoing Israeli aggression against Gaza, Resolution 2730 was an urgent and timely reminder of our obligations to respect, to protect humanitarian personnel. However, it has had no real impact on the ground, and humanitarian workers continue to be targeted with impunity. It is time to end this cycle of impunity through effective accountability mechanisms. It is time to move beyond the selective application of resolution, double standard. It is time to honor our collective commitment to the dignity, yes, the dignity and worth of every human being. I thank you.